Wow, this Florida beach resort was the epitome of luxury. Hi, I'm Dakota, the beloved and only daughter of Hardy Balmer, the world-renowned wine billionaire. But I don't know why. We have this huge fortune and Dad still makes me study and always rushes me to get a job. Well, no way that's gonna happen. So for now, let's just enjoy this gorgeous place and this finest wine, shall we? FYI, there isn't a wine brand in the world I haven't tasted. I can distinguish them all easily with just one sip. Chardonnay versus Riesling? Piece of cake. Let's see if there's anything interesting going on in the world.
Wait,
What is this?
there must be some mistake.
How can Daddy be bankrupt? I called him repeatedly, but all I got was the busy signal. Something's wrong. I rushed to the private helicopter to return to our mansion. What's happening? Why are those men carrying away our valuable furniture? Then Nanny Maria ran out to me in tears. She told me Daddy had disappeared and all he'd left behind was this wooden box. I rummaged through it but only found some old notebooks and a certificate of ownership for a farm winery. Oh well, Dad may be bankrupt, but at least I still have this vineyard to live off. Let's go check out my newly acquired assets then. This place looks huge. I wonder how much money it made a month. I looked around and then wandered into an enormous wine cellar. Curious, I touched some wine barrels when suddenly someone's voice snapped at me.
Stay away from them. Who are you?
I'll have you know that I own this place, so I'll do whatever I want.
Have you lost your mind? Get out, now!
He suddenly grabbed my wrist and dragged me outside.
I furiously screamed and people started to gather around. Listen up, my name is Dakota, Hardy Balmer's daughter, and from now on, I'm in charge around here. I showed them the certificate of ownership as proof, but they didn't seem to care. Only an old-looking man came to shake my hand.
Welcome, Miss Balmer. I'm Jack, your father's long-standing companion. Come inside. My son James will show you around in a bit.
Okay, finally, someone showed some manners. Oh, I miss hanging out with my friends. I should have been at Fashion Week right now, not here in this lousy farm.
Get up, couch potato. You have a vineyard to visit.
Ugh, it's that rude guy again. It's too hot outside now. No way I'm making my way out there. So I shooed him away and continued staring at my phone. James then threw the stupid map of the winery at me and left.
Thank God, he finally left me alone.
After a week of lounging around and being waited on by Nanny Maria, I eventually longed for fresh air. Remembering the map James gave me, I decided to check out the place. First stop, the vineyard. Wow, it's so big! But why did they leave the soil so crackling dry? Let's see, where's the sprinkler?
There we go. But as soon as I turned it on, a scowling farmer ran over and immediately turned it off.
Hey miss, this is not your toy.
What's the attitude? They're my employees but have the cheek to act this snootily to me?
Harvest is in 2 weeks. To keep the sweetness of the grapes, no one waters them.
Why is this James guy everywhere? I'm the daughter of the wine billionaire. I didn't need any preaching on how to run my farm.
Days after that, I came to the farm to pluck up the grass,
trim, and fertilize the plants. But I kept getting shooed out. Those awful farmers were so disrespectful. Fine, I needed to show them who's the real boss here. That night, I asked Dad to gather everyone in the communal dining room and declared I would fire some of them for their disrespectful attitudes. But they just gave indifferent looks. How dare they? Didn't they know I could just sell this place and make them all homeless? But then Jack handed me a contract signed by my daddy, stating that due to the blood, sweat, and tears they'd all put into this place, no one has the right to fire them or sell the farm. Jack also gave me other documents. Seemed like due to my family's bankruptcy, the farm had not been doing well. If nothing changes, it might be dissolved. What? So the only property Dad left me was also on the verge of failing? I yelled at them.
Then do something to sort it out, now!
Suddenly, everyone got up from their seats and glared at me with anger. My head was spinning around. Feeling panicked, I rushed outside. I sat by myself, hugging the wooden box Daddy left me in bewilderment. I flipped the notebooks and was surprised to find a letter in the bottom of the box, in which Dad told all about how from the day Mom passed away, he'd put all the effort into this farm and became a successful entrepreneur.
I used to believe that compensating my time for work to provide you with a wealthy life would be enough. All this actually did was create a greater distance between us. My darling Dakota, I'm so sorry. My only hope is that you'll see as much beauty in this vineyard as I do.
If only Dad was here now. How can I deal with all these troubles and challenges ahead? I burst into tears.
They meant no harm.
James' voice startled me. I quickly wiped away my tears. He sat beside me and offered a wine-splodged handkerchief.
This isn't just some random farm for these people. It's also their home. Don't accuse them of not trying. This farm means far more to them than it does to you.
I was just...
This is when we should all stand together. Don't let your selfishness threaten the future of this whole winery and everyone involved.
Even though I hated his guts, what he said did make sense. Maybe I had been neglectful of my responsibility for this place. If this winery was the most precious thing to my dad, then I want to put it right, for him. James smiled gently, putting his hand on my shoulder.
That's settled then. We're all gonna revive this place.
He then left after telling me to show up at the cellar at 5 a.m. the day after. The next morning, while walking around, James told me everything about temperature control and wine brewing. Growing up, Dad would always pass on this wine knowledge to me at the dinner table, and I actually remembered them. He even took me to his wine tasting sessions, and that's how he discovered I was gifted with a great sense of smell and taste buds. Even James was impressed with my talent and said I was born to work in this industry after letting me taste some samples. The next step in the process was much harder than I thought. It took me a whole day to memorize all the different varieties of grapes and how to sort them, but I still messed it up. How come there are so many ripe stages? I was frustrated and was about to leave when Karen, my instructor, called me back. You have to take it slow. Wine takes time and we have to be patient. Okay, fine, I'll try. As I was sorting, I got to chat with the workers, and it turned out they were quite friendly and even helped me out a lot. It was true that these workers really treated this place like their home and cherished it here. It had been more than 2 weeks, and I was harvesting the new crop with everyone. Thanks to the tips in Dad's notebook, with a pinch of my own creativity to it, James and I were in the process of creating a new line of wine. I was confident that this would help revive the winery. I was checking stuff in the cellar when James rushed in with a leaflet in his hand.
Hey Dakota, this is our chance.
Wow, so this town was hosting an upcoming wine festival. If our winery could win something, we could gain lots of orders for this season. The next morning, I prepared all the documents to register for the King of Wine contest. While waiting for the interview, I strolled through the showroom and tasted the previous winning wines. Wow, they all have unique tastes. Since I had my eyes closed to appreciate the wine layers, I bumped into a handsome guy and accidentally spilled red wine on his shirt. Oh, I'm sorry.
No biggie, it's just a small stain.
Oh my, he was such a gentleman, which made me feel even more guilty. I was about to ask for his contact so I could make it up for him later when the organizer called me for the interview. My eyes were just looking away from him for a sec, and he'd already gone. Anyway, it was a blessing the interview went well, and our winery was eligible for the contest. I decided to treat myself to a coffee before heading back, but at the counter, I realized I didn't have any money on me. Oh no! I forgot my wallet.
I'll pay for that.
Wait, it's him, the guy I spilled the wine on. Turns out he's Danny, and he might be young, but he's in fact a skilled wine critic who even held the position of vice president of the city's wine association. More surprisingly, he's a fan of my dad's and adores the wines he created. After chatting with him, I came back to the farm to tell everyone the good news. They were all very excited and started preparing for the competition right away. 2 weeks before the competition, the organizing committee sent over a few people to do some preliminary assessments. And guess what? Danny was also here, being a part of the inspection team. So, after the inspection, I invited Danny to stay and share some knowledge about wine brewing. And fortunately, he's free for a few days and was pleased to stick around. Yay! I excitedly told James the great news, but he responded with no interest. That's not exactly good news. Why? Oh, I see. You're jealous of him, aren't you?
What? Me? Jealous? What does he even have for me to be envious about?
Well, he's handsome and also exceedingly knowledgeable about wine. And people seem to like him. Wait, where are you going? I haven't finished. Whatever. No one needs him, as we have Danny here now. Such a charming gentleman. For the next 2 days, Danny kept trying to make time for me. Yes, just the two of us. Gosh, he's so romantic. I could spend hours with him.
Dakota, you're the most special girl I've ever met. Hey, dinner time.
Ugh, another would-be perfect moment ruined by James. He seemed to go out of his way to come between us. He sat in between us in the dining room, saying it was his favorite seat. Then, he followed us into the vineyard and said he was checking the quality of the grapes at 11 p.m. For real? Such a third wheel, and he's so cranky toward Danny. Hello, the guy's trying to help us here, so why the grumpy attitude? Later that night, I was passing by the kitchen when I overheard James and his dad.
Should we start now? Definitely. The big day is coming up, or else we won't make it. Dakota is busy being all lovey-dovey with that jerk. She doesn't need to know this.
What? Are they planning something behind my back? And then, something absolutely horrible happened the next day. When Danny and I arrived at the cellar to pick up the competition wine, we stepped into a sauna. What is this? Why is the wine cellar so hot?
Someone must have tampered with the room temperature.
I rushed to check the wine. Oh no, the heat had removed the last 2 notes and made it too sour. I fell to the ground and started sobbing. Danny tried to comfort me. He told me not to worry as he'd introduced some big clients to me, then he had to leave to prepare for the upcoming competition. I looked at the barrels in sorrow, but then remembered something. My dad also set the heat too high once and found a way to filter and ferment it again to tone down the sour flavor. I'm sure it's somewhere in the notes he left. I hurried back to my room to search through the wooden box, but I couldn't find it anywhere. Someone definitely was messing with me. Oh my god, who else could it be? The conversation between James and his dad came to mind, so I furiously went to look for him. Seeing James, I couldn't control my anger and shouted, "It's you, isn't it? You adjusted the wine cellar temperature. You stole my father's notebook. You've been planning to sabotage me for a long time, haven't you?" James acted confused, but before the snake could blurt out anything, I stopped him and said, "Get out of here, now!" He gave a defeated nod, then left without a word. Tomorrow is the day of the contest, yet I don't have any wine to enter. I picked up the letter my father left me and felt like a loser. Maybe I'm just not fit for this. Right at this moment, James pushed the door open.
Dakota, look!
I told you to leave! Ignoring my words, James calmly poured a glass of wine and told me to try it. Oh, this actually tastes pretty good.
It's the new wine you created. I stayed up a few nights and fixed its acrid taste. Now we can take it to the contest.
I yelped out in joy, then lunged to hug a surprised-looking James. Look at his face, red as a tomato. But, remembering how sketchy he was in the kitchen the other night, I quickly let go of him and calmed down. First things first, we had to hit the road now to participate in the competition. Our wine stall attracted a lot of guests and got highly praised by all the judges. When Danny saw us, I noticed how surprised he seemed by my presence with this new wine.
I didn't expect the technique of filtration and fermentation could change the flavor so amazingly. You're really talented, Dakota. Let's take some time to discuss this in more detail later.
I happily agreed, but isn't that technique recorded in my dad's notebook? How did he know it? I left the bar and sneakily followed Danny. Then in a hidden corner, I overheard him talking to someone.
I've adjusted the cellar's heat to destroy everything, but who knew she'd use her father's technique to fix it? I've already taken the notebook away, but she probably remembered them all. Whatever the reason is, her wine is becoming a strong rival. A championship is at stake. Can you just do something?
So, have I been trusting the wrong person? Well, that hurts. But I'll sure make him pay for that. I quickly submitted the recording to the judges, and immediately there was an announcement to pause, and the wines were regraded by blind tasting to be fair. And you know what? The new wine I created won the 3rd prize. Okay, so the prize money wasn't as grand, but it'd help us get a decent amount of orders for the next year's crop. I happily went to the podium to accept the award and almost fainted on stage because the awarder was no one other than my dad. I hugged him and sobbed uncontrollably. It turned out that my father was not bankrupt. He just donated all his assets to charity. His plan to pretend bankruptcy was just to help me become more independent and walk on my own feet. It's unbelievable, but I'm not mad at him for it. On the contrary, I feel very fortunate that my father did that to give me a chance to grow up. As for Danny, he was kicked out of the City Wine Association. That's the price to pay for his cattishness. He deserves it. And James, it turns out that the conversation between him and his father was just about fixing the wine, as the two of them discovered the spoiled wine way before I did. Now, the vineyard is my first career, just like it was my dad's. This place is my home, and the workers are my family. Yep, this even includes this cold, cranky guy.